I will contest that there's only one city in the entire world, and that's New York City, based off of what you think happens in a city, which is transformation, which is newness and a blending of so many different things. You can't identify one thing with it. That's New York City, not Tokyo, not France, not London. LA is a suburb. So like New York City operates like how I think a city operates. And of course a neighborhood's going to change. But is New York Magazine a little too late? Shouldn't they be talking about like Nolita, the Lower East Side? Shouldn't they be talking about Clinton Hill? I don't know. But
Well, look, if we had read that article, we would know.
but a lot of it was based off of Carrie Bradshaw. Can this
Well, I was
show
going to
catch a break?
well, I
Like,
was going to
why
say
this show? Yeah.
Well, I was going to say there was an article about Bleecker Street, the rise and fall of Bleecker Street, that probably ran 4 or 5 years ago, and it was specifically about how Sex and the City created this gravitational pull, especially for young women, and then Magnolia Bakery and this whole Marc Jacobs empire was there, and it was very much tied to this idea of 30-something womanhood in New York City became a tourist mecca. And
Well, it
then
was like a magical life that revealed itself, like Bemelman's drawings, right?
And then the real estate got so expensive that the places that made it charming went out of business. The old school spots that had been sort of grandfathered in, unked in, if you will, and they all closed. And all of a sudden it lost its personality. People stopped going there. The rents were so expensive that by the arcane laws of New York City, it's better to leave a place vacant than to rent it out for less a month because that changes your property value. The article gets into all this. And it's like Bleecker Street kind of collapsed. And the West Village is interesting because as we're talking about it, there's some places you'll go every once in a while over there. But back in the day, there was Halo, there was Beatrice, there was Veruca. There was a lot of places where you might hang out. I don't
John's has
really know
always been.
anybody. I don't know anybody who really hangs out in the West Village at this point, other than going to say like a fine dining establishment or maybe
Yeah, we had a run. The
maybe
Jane
a
was.
cocktail bar. I don't know.
I mean, there's a million La Linguineries there that are all great, right? Coucha e Pepe, Branzino, a glass of white, like excellent stuff. We go there, and
I
for
mean,
someone who,
Thursdays at La Fettuccine are
yeah,
incredible.
yo, gotta hit up. I'm a regular at La Spaghetteria, but there's like stuff there. There's a Mermaid Inn everywhere you look, um, and like the idea. I want to stand for Sex and the City a little bit because that was not only a great show, it is the impression of a place that ends up becoming true. This magical coming of age story about a writer finding happiness in a beautiful part of Manhattan. I'm down for that, man. I'm also looking for my first championship as a Knicks fan.
Also, we would be remiss not to shout out Cat Marnell, who inhabited that archetype for a different subculture, like the
Yep.
downtown scene. And
Yep.
her impact is very real.
Mm-hmm.
Like you'll see young writers, especially women, who are just like Cat Marnell. That's the god. So shout out to Cat Marnell, who is the real life version.
Yeah,
Of Carrie
and
Bradshaw.
sure, and shout out like Lena Dunham, who changed Bushwick and eventually Ridgewood. Williamsburg was already gone by the time Girls comes out, but
Ridgewood, a slice of Queens. I've heard about that place, or a slice of Brooklyn in Queens.
Wow, didn't say.
Someone was like, Ben, they have your headline that you wrote. Like, I didn't write it. Like, yeah, the headline that you wrote to your article is at the coffee shop, and they said we are not Brooklyn.
No,
You're persona non grata over here in Ridgewood. And I said, I tried to make you guys look not cool. I did my best to insult you.
Yeah. I mean, we've talked about this before, but I think the foundation for every neighborhood that goes through this kind of change that ends up Mets dad hats showing up or Carrie Bradshaw aspirations is always like a subculture. And it's always kind of like gay clubs, gay coffee shops, writers, artists. They kind of seek out affordability, carve out their neighborhood, and it's usually very appealing because they have great taste. And there it goes. And 20, 30 years later, the West Village, Nolita, the Lower East Side, man, when we found out about the hotel in the Lower East Side, it was over, right? Like we had lost. You walk down Ludlow and it does not look like the Ludlow I remember. Hell Square number 7.